So you're now recording.
Okay, it's good morning to you, Mr. Lubin W. Hunter, veteran of the World War II. I'm going to ask you for you to give us your name, your date of birth, where you live, and your service, what year you joined and what year you was discharged. And we'll get into the places that you have been. But to open up, we want to thank you. We're now on the Shinnecock Indian Reservation in Southampton, Long Island. We're at the Shinnecock Museum and Cultural Center located on the reservation. At this time, we have veteran Lubin W. Hunter. Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Could you kindly give us your full name and date of birth?
My name is Lubin Walter Hunter. My date of birth is May 28, 1917. And I was born here on the reservation until I went away in high school, college, went to the city in New York to work because there was no work out in this part of the world. And when I retired, I came back home, and I'm not too far away from where I was born. Which is true, because I am not too far away from where I was born.
Well, what kind of work?
Did I do?
Yes.
Well,
How old were you when you first went out off the reservation?
I was 20, when I first went off to college, to Brooklyn College, I was, I think, 19 years of age.
Okay. Well, before we go there, could you give me a little bit about the childhood on the Shinnecock Indian Reservation?
Oh, yes. Today, this part of the year right now is reminiscent of what it was when I was a kid, because when we had football games, sometimes we had it all in snow, and we didn't see the ground until Easter, which is true. And when I was in grammar school, which was down here on the reservation, we had a Mrs. Thompson who had the whole 8 classes from 1st grade to 8th grade. And then when you got to the 8th grade, you had to take New York State examinations in geography, English, mathematics, history, and other little subjects. And if you passed them all correctly, then you was allowed to go to Southampton High School. And I went to Southampton High School, and while I was there, I was in school with my brother Earl, with Artie Davis, Lester Davis, and Earl Crippen. Those are the young guys that was in school with me at the time. And of course, there was quite a few of the village guys, such as the Enstein boys. In fact, Milt Enstein was the only one I saw the whole while I was in the service. And I went to Brooklyn College, and then President Roosevelt passed that draft integration thing, and we all had to go and fill that out, which we did. And so...
How did you fill it out, veteran Reuben?
I filled it out as a Shinnecock Indian Reservation, and from the Shinnecock Reservation. And when I took the exam to be a part of the aviation cadet program, the service, why I filled it out, and I went and took the test and passed it, and I got called. And from there, I came home in August. I went back into the service in September, and I didn't come out. In fact, I didn't see anybody from my part of the world outside of one of the Enstein boys. I met him in Chicago. I was going back out to Las Vegas, Nevada for gunnery practice from the airplanes, and he was coming. I was going out west, and he was coming east, going to Europe. And we met on the station in Chicago, and I guess people must thought we might have been a pair of fairies because we hugged and were so glad to see one another. And he was the only one I ever saw in the whole while I was in the service, because I thought that I was going to be going down to Tuskegee to the Alabama school, but they didn't send me there. Said no, I couldn't go there because I was American Indian, and I couldn't go to that black outfit. And so I said, well, that's where it is, it is. So I went down, and then when I came back from Shinnecock, I went back.
So it was segregated at that time?
Oh, yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
The whole service services and military services, Army, Navy, Air Force, you name it, was all segregated, very much so.
Even to the Native American Indian?
Even to the American Indian.
And what kind of segregation did you personally, veteran Hunter, experience?
Well, when I came in August to go to the Veterans Organization, to the Air Force Cadet School, I was sent to with quite a few boys from the Eastern Seaboard, New Jersey, Connecticut, New York. That was our group, and we all got on the bus and rode down on the bus from Jersey to Greensboro, North Carolina. And on the way down, we all said, well, this is our last time to be civilians, so let's go out and spend this night. And we all went out, and everybody got to drinking. And in the morning, when I raised up the windows on the curtains on the train, because you couldn't do it at night because you couldn't put lights on at night in the train. And I looked out and I saw these red banks. I said, oh my God, I drunk myself blind, I can't see. And it was that red earth of the South that I was looking at. And I had never been south before in my life, and sometimes I said I wished I had never been down there. And so I went there, and we went to Greensboro, North Carolina, to the cadet training school. And from there, when we finished our basic training there, we got sent out to another place called Galesburg, Illinois, Knox College. And there we had to do our studies in order to be able to be engineers on the airplane, or to be navigators, pilots, you name it. And we went there and we finished there. We had to go out to Burbank, California to study the B-17, because that's where we was all going, B-17s. And we went there, and we went to that's where they made the B-17s at that time. And so we went there to Burbank, and when we got time off, we was able to go to Hollywood, and we went, and I had a beautiful time in Hollywood. And when we finished Burbank, we had to come back to Las Vegas, Nevada, to practice air-to-ground gunnery and air-to-air gunnery in the planes. And we had all, in Knox College, we all had been taught how to fly a plane, and we all had been taught how to fly and land a plane, so we all knew that. So what we had to do now was learn how to protect ourselves in the air, and that was at Las Vegas, Nevada. And it was interesting in Las Vegas, Nevada, because we said, oh gosh, we're going to go out there, there's a big time out there, all the girls are going to be out there. So when we got up to Las Vegas, Nevada, we didn't have nobody. The general had for 50 miles around, he had taken all the houses and whatnot out of existence, and we were just as bad off there as we were anywhere else in the world. And that was interesting. And from there, we had to go down to Biloxi, Mississippi, to learn how to have flights. When your plane got knocked out, you had to jump out, you had to go down in the water, you had to learn how to survive in the water, or to go out to the sea and learn how to pick up somebody that's knocked down in the sea. That's which we learned. Then from that point on, we went out to Sienna, somewhere out in Kansas, and we crewed up, and the rest is history.
That was in what year?
That was 1942,
Okay.
43. 43, we was crewed up and sent out.
Sent where?
We was told we was never supposed to tell where we was at and what we was doing. And I couldn't write home because at that time they used to check the mails. And if you told where you was at and what you was doing, the Germans knew it, the Japanese knew it, and so you was putting yourself in jeopardy. So we could not write home. We could not tell anybody where we was at. And I didn't see my family or anybody from this part of the world until I come home in 1945.
Veteran Lubin, what particular countries did you go to?
We went, in the Air Force, and in fact, I brought a thing with me from my General Hap Arnold. And he was our commanding officer, and it wasn't like we was told beforehand where we was going, what we was going to do, because we never knew where we was going when we got told you're going to hit the plane at 2 o'clock in the morning. So we all had to go to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, or whatever the hour was, wherever we had to go. We had to get up and be ready to go, and got on our planes, and we went. And so we never knew until we was in the air at 10,000 feet, and then the captain or the pilot had to open his envelope and tell what his mission was and where we was going. And that's the only time we ever knew where we was going or what we was doing.
Now, was there many casualties that you've seen during the war?
Yes,
I know it was.
We lost planes, we lost people. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I remember one time we was having breakfast, and there was a famous test pilot. He was taking the new suit planes that they had, and he went up in the air, and we heard this crash. We looked out, went outside, and he crashed, went right down. And that was our first big excitement. But then after that, when we was in the service, in the air, in the flight, going back and forth, and the enemy was attacking us, we lost planes, left and right. And so I'm happy to be home.
Mm-hmm. So that means you did see combat?
Oh, yes.
Yes. What time and what unit were you with when you saw combat?